Are we going to stop Prop 36?
Yeah!
Are we going to win Prop 6?
Yeah!
Okay, all right. So just so we're all on the same page as we start the panel, we're going to give a little brief explanation of Prop 36 and Prop 6, and you'll get kind of in-depth information from the panel and moving forward. Prop 36 real quick, and we'll ask Jay maybe to say some words about the history of Prop 6, since he's been one of the architects of it. But Prop 36 repeals a major victory that happened some years ago that impacted communities here and across the state called Prop 47. And Prop 47 was a proposition that was in reaction to the overcrowding in prisons. And one of the fuels and reasons why there was mass incarceration was the overcriminalization of communities of color. In particular, things like drug-related crimes, low-level offenses that were filling up not just jails, but prisons. And the collateral consequences after that were tremendous and long-lived. People would be walking out of their experience from an arrest to court to incarceration, trying to return back to this very same community, excluded from the traditional economy because they had an F on their record, they had a felony on their record, and if they were destabilized before the incarceration, they're even more so after. Prop 47 worked. It reduced the prison population. It reduced the racial disparities in the prison. It actually saved the state money, and it got people's lives back on track. But the pendulum has swung back in the form of Prop 36 to bring back us to a road of mass incarceration. What Prop 36 would do would elevate low-level offenses, particularly associated with what's thought of as retail crimes and minor possession substance use, from misdemeanors, which are then processed, punished in the jail, into felonies, which would require a prison commitment. And so that is directly undermining exactly what Prop 47 did. What's even more insidious is Prop 47 won the state millions of dollars. And it was written into Prop 47. Some of you all here probably voted for that back in the day. Money was earmarked. The money that was saved from sending people to prison was then used in reentry, in substance use, in mental health treatment. All the solution-based routes that we need to get us out of the troubles that people are in. Prop 36 then is actually taking all that saved earnings that was made from Prop 7 away. So we not only will have overpopulated prisons, we'll not only have a generation that has felonies, we'll also have less reserves and monies that could be used for things like treatment, substance use treatment, mental health treatment, reentry, job, housing, employment opportunities. All of that is at risk if Prop 36 passes. So we could get into the details a little bit more with the panel, but just wanted to give a baseline explanation of what Prop 36 was. But Jake, can you give us a description of Prop 6?
Absolutely. So Prop 6 would, in essence, remove California's exception clause in the state constitution. A lot of people are familiar with the 13th Amendment, right, in the U.S. Constitution, which was ratified in 1865. It was as a result of, the end of the Civil War, right, when blacks were freed, right, and people get real crafty. People don't like to let go of their power. So right after blacks were freed, the 13th Amendment was ratified, which says that slavery will no longer exist except for punishment of crime, right? And you got to remember, right after that came out the black codes. So all of a sudden it was a crime to be homeless, literally homeless, unemployed, the vagrancy laws, right? A lot of people don't know, though, is that in California, it goes back further than that. A lot of people think that we have the exception clause in our state constitution as a result of the 13th Amendment. However, in California, we had that exception clause in our state constitution 16 years before the 13th Amendment. So in 1849, right, remember California became a state in 1850. In 1849, an all-white male legislature crafted slavery into the state constitution. And how'd they do that, right? Well, first of all, they called it involuntary servitude, which is simply slavery by another name, right? So it said when they wrote California's Constitution, 1849, all white males, it said slavery should not be tolerated in the state. Involuntary servitude should never be tolerated except for the punishment of a crime, right? So it was a way for California to enter the Union in 1850 as a free state, but still have a cheap, free labor force, right? What's even more interesting is that the governor at the time, Peter Burnett, was a slaveholder, right? 2 years later, in 1851, who knows what the first prison is in California? Not Folsom. Folsom in 1880. San Quentin, 1852. That's the first prison in California. Some might say it was the ship Waban, but actually it was San Quentin, right? Well, in 1851, this same all-white male legislature that had just previously put the exception clause in the California state constitution awarded a 10-year prison contract to James Estelle. Who was James Estelle? He was a state senator from Solano and Napa counties. He was also a slaveholder, right? Literally. And the U.S. the California legislature awarded James Estelle with a 10-year prison contract, which later became San Quentin, with the agreement that James Estelle said, okay, I'll run the prison for y'all. But under one condition, I get to have the unrestricted use of convict labor, right? So what we have today, when we say end slavery, it's actually rooted, if you go back into the history of California, is rooted in white supremacy and the exploitation of indigenous and black free labor. And that's the roots of it. It's looked a little bit differently now because it's 175 years later, but the fact remains, we could call it involuntary servitude, we call it that, but in actuality, it's slavery. You look at the roots of it, we know where it came from. So that's a little history on how that came and how it got into the prison system.
Thank you, Jay. And Jay's actually helping run the statewide campaign since its inception. So with that said, let us introduce our amazing community panel. We have Yvonne Maxwell with Ujima Family, Adult and Youth Services, Adult and Family Services. We have Sandy Perry with the South Bay Land Trust. You guys can clap if you want. We have Cecilia Chavez, Participatory Defense Organizer and National Trainer. We have Jay Vasquez, who you've heard from, Policy Director of Courage.
Policy Legal Services Manager.
Wow, okay, even fancier, Legal Services Manager.
Not a director, but
We have Xavier, Participatory Defense Organizer, does a lot of work post-conviction and pre-trial. And of course, Zach and I are doing this together. So with that said, we're going to kind of just get into the conversation. So Yvonne, maybe we could start with you, and we thank you for being here. You've been a long time advocate for the community, particularly the Black community here, have helped people that we know that have been going through mental health crisis, substance use, lack of housing. What is it about Prop 36 that gives you the most concern, or why you think it's a danger that needs to be stopped?
Well, I believe really strongly it's just like, as you said earlier, it's just us going backwards, right? It's focusing again on being punitive and punishing people instead of engaging them in their wellness and health, right? Or creating different ways that we can pull people in, because nobody intends to be strung out, right? And struggling with substance use, right? It's the things that are happening in the environment, right? We live in a pretty oppressive country and space. And we have a policing system that targets people who are struggling, people who are poor, and particularly people who are African or Latino, right? And that's obvious in the numbers, right? We're disproportionately in all of these systems. And so when we know that, and we understand how it is to move in this environment as a poor person or a person that belongs to a different ethnic group other than European, it's difficult and life is challenging. And so if we know that they are targeting us in the first place and bringing us into the carceral system and charging and overcharging, and now even for those that do end up getting incarcerated, that only exacerbates their ability to be healthy, to live in community, to participate in community, and to flourish. It dissolves families. I wouldn't even say breaks family. It dissolves family, it dissolves family relationships. And so more of this is really, I think it's an attack on human beings. I think it's an attack on people, in particular people. All people use at the same rate, right? About 26% of all people have struggles with substances, but yet, we experience it disproportionately. So there's nothing good about it, and there's nothing that's helpful about it. It's really just going to do more harm.
Thanks, Yvonne. Sandy, you've been probably the most immovable force for the rights of those that are facing housing insecurity in San Jose. Since Debug's been in inception, for sure. And you're working with people that are houseless right now, that are under attack. This proposition, Prop 36, is actually being billed as a solution to homelessness. And when I saw you at a press conference when they were clearing an encampment, you said that Prop 36 was the most dangerous thing, the thing you're most concerned with on the ballot. What's your thoughts about Prop 36?
Well, the most important thing to understand about it is that everything about Prop 36 is a lie. I looked at our mayor is featured on a website, Yes on Prop 36, and all it is lies. First of all, they say Prop 36 is to address crime. Well, crime is going down. They say it's going up. Crime is going down. That's the first lie. Second lie is it's supposed to deal with homelessness. Well, Prop 36 gives $0 for housing. It reduces funds for substance abuse treatment. It takes away funds for mental health treatment, and it gives hundreds of millions of dollars for prisons and jails. And the mayor and his cohort, Madison Nguyen, they're going all over town, in fact, all over California, saying this is going to get people into treatment. It's not going to get people into treatment because the treatment doesn't exist. Even the governor says the treatment doesn't exist. Even the DA of Santa Clara County, the treatment beds and the treatment facilities don't exist for the people to get treatment. So the judge is going to say, I'll give you a choice of treatment or prison, except we don't have treatment. That's not a choice. That's exactly what Prop 36 does. They know it does that, and they're promoting it anyway. The other thing about it is that it's part of a national narrative. This is not something that's just in California. It's connected. There's a thing called Project 2025, which probably people have heard about. And basically, it's saying that the problem that we have in America is too many people. And the way to deal with it is to incarcerate people and to deport people. And they're popularizing the terms mass deportation and mass incarceration. People here and decent people in every community understand that people are the solution to our problems, not the problem themselves. People are the ones who are going to build a better world. So what we're dealing with is what's called the real estate industrial complex, where they're trying to increase their profits. They're using this issue of homelessness to try to say this is going to help with homelessness, and as I said, it's going to make it worse. The cause of homelessness is unaffordable rents. And they're trying to get across this narrative that the cause of homelessness is the fact that people use too many drugs, are too crazy, or don't want to work. And that's the big lie. That's one of the biggest lies that Prop 36 is spreading.
Cecilia Chavez does a lot of immigration work, right, Ceci? And a lot of the families that come through our doors and sit at the red table on Tuesdays and Wednesdays are people who have immigration consequences to their convictions. So do you want to talk a little bit about how, for that community, Prop 36 will kind of overturn the reality and make lives worse?
Yeah. So for those who are kind of new to our space, we support a lot of families, any family that comes, right? And our lives don't work in silos, systems don't work in silos, everything is connected. So a lot of the times the families that we support, who might be facing misdemeanors, there's fear that the immigration system is also entangled. Even though we worked with, to have a sanctuary policy here as well as in San Mateo, the intricacies go a lot further than just this one policy and being able to interview individuals inside the jail. What Prop 36 does is that it aggravates a lot of misdemeanors into felonies. So along with all the lies that Prop 36 is spreading, there's a lot of uncertainty of what this actually is going to look like, because simple possession could become, it makes you deportable. And these charges, for first-time offenders get enhanced, second-time offenders get enhanced. So in the third-time offender, and this, we know people, it's a cycle, they could end up facing anywhere between 3 to 5 years in prison for simple possession. So let's just sink that in. And that makes, certain misdemeanor charges make you ineligible as if you're seeking relief in the immigration sense as well. So having that in your record is going to make it harder for the person who is renewing their green card, who might be here legally, but that now just makes them ineligible to renew that their green card. And it also makes us a target for ICE, because once people are removed out of counties where there is this protection and they're put into the prison system, it's so much easier for ICE to get a hold of them there versus when they're here locally. So that's just some of the ways that this proposition is harmful for our community.
I want to move to you, Jay, and kind of return to Prop 6. I know a few years ago we had a really tough defeat at the California legislature, and now we're in a position where the people are voting on it. Do you want to talk a little bit about kind of that defeat there, and then kind of the hope that we have that we'll win this time as voters at the, instead of at the legislature, where the slave industrial complex was more powerful than people?
For sure. Well, just to kind of go back a little bit, there's two ways to get, a ballot measure, like a measure on the ballot, right? You could go around and get a bunch of signatures, how they got Prop 36, like Walmart, Home Depot, funnel millions of dollars to get these signatures to get this on the ballot, because it literally costs millions of dollars, right? Well, with Prop 6, there's no way to get it on the ballot, and that's to go through the legislature, right? But in order to go to the legislature and get this on the ballot, you need 2/3 votes, which is a very high bar in the California legislature. You would think it wouldn't be, because we have a Democratic majority, but I've been doing this policy work for about 4.5 years, and a lot of the legislators that kill our bills actually moderate Democrats, the mod Dems, right? And so the defeat when we brought this the first time and supported a campaign under ACA 3, which is Assembly Constitutional Amendment 3, right? And it didn't get the votes. It died on the Senate floor. And largely because an analysis came out that said, if you pass this, if you take away involuntary servitude inside prison, people will not work if they're not forced to work. And if that happens, the prisons are going to shut down. We can't have the prisons shut down, right? So we're either going to have to pay people inside minimum wage or hire people from the free community to go work inside the prisons, to go sweep the floors, do yard crew, do the kitchen, which is all BS. That's never going to happen, right? Two things. When I was hearing that, what I heard was that the narrative that goes back, probably 100 more plus years, where the vast majority of people in prison are black or brown. Right? I did over 25 years inside, right? So I'm talking from my experience. And people say that if you're not forced to work inside, it simply won't work. That tells me you're saying black and brown people are lazy, and therefore they will not work unless you force them to. So the analysis said this could cost billions of dollars potentially if this passes. And so legislators were like, we believe that we shouldn't have slavery in California. However, we just can't afford it right now, right? So they put a price on it, and that's how I was able to die in the legislature. But from doing this work, you only lose once you stop fighting. You only lose once you stop fighting. As long as you keep pushing, you're eventually gonna win. When we fight, we win, right? And so we came back, we organized and got back stronger, built a stronger coalition, and got it passed in the legislature through ACA 8. It's been a 4-year process to get this on the ballot. Right, so it's big that we got it on the ballot, but it's even more big that we get the votes to pass. Because right now it's like this, right? We know that when we educate people on Prop 6, though, they're likely to vote for it. So that's the thing, and we'll be talking a little bit more, hopefully, on the best way to talk about it, right? But I hope that answers the question on.
Definitely. Thanks, Jay, on kind of.
Jay, can I ask a quick follow-up question?
Yeah.
I heard you speak once before about how people are forced between forced labor or rehabilitation that might bring them home. Can you talk about that tension and how it addresses that?
So, and here's the thing. So, forced prison labor undermines rehabilitation, right? The evidence is clear. Right? No one disputes this. There's even a report that's published on CDCR's website back in February of this year that shows that when people participate in education and rehabilitation on the inside, they're more likely to succeed when they come home. I'm a testament to that, right? Is that the rehabilitation, the education I got in there during my years really helped me transition out here tremendously. Worked on my healing, take accountability, and all that stuff, right? The research is clear on that. But here's the thing, though. The way California, the way the prison system prioritizes forced labor over rehabilitation, you have a choice, right? And the choice really is not a choice. The choice is you're going to work, right? And if you want to take a substance use class, if you want to do education, if you want to take anger management, if you want to do a job training, right? And it's during the work hours, you cannot do it. You cannot do it. I wanted to take a victim impact class. I'll be real quick. I want to take a victim impact class to really learn about the impact that I caused. But it conflicted with my job assignment. I was a porter, and on the inside, a porter's like a janitor. And had I simply put down that broom and attended that victim impact class anyways, I would have gotten a write-up, a 115, rules violation report, whatever you want to call it, right? Just for going and want to learn about the impact of my behavior. And had I got that write-up, and as a lifer, went for the parole board, right? The first thing they start at is a 15-year denial. Then they go to 10, 7, 5, and 3, right? But they started the 15 and 10. So I potentially could have got punished with the 15 or 10 years longer in prison simply because I wanted to take a victim impact class. And that's why forced labor undermines rehabilitation, which doesn't make any sense, right? If we're talking about improving public safety and community safety, we need to give greater access to education, mental health treatment, drug treatment on the inside, so people get what they need on the inside, so when they come home, they're more likely to succeed. But so it undermines right now rehabilitation.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Oh, go ahead, Elijah.
Say something a bit about PIA, Prison Industry Authority. That's a company inside of prison. They try to that's the for-profit of prisons. Like they ask you. To me, I had a PIA number. There's different types of A number, B number, and I was an A number. And they used to threaten me of firing me or lowering me my pay. I didn't care, I didn't care. Like they told me, but other people don't have no choices. And they told me, if you don't do overtime, we're gonna fire you. Like, fire me then. I don't care, you know, like my family takes care of it, but other people don't have that. So they are forced to work overtime.
Wow.
And I quit that job and went to a vocational so I could better myself and give myself a better chance when I got out here. And during COVID also, there was a time that they moved all the kitchen workers to one building so they could work and say they're negative. They told them, hey, you don't even have to put that thing in there, just don't test. To show that they're negative so they could go work in the kitchens, and that's putting them in danger.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like they didn't really care. They just wanted to use the forced labor during COVID, you know?
That's incredible. Well, thank.
Me in the prison industry authority, it's a little higher skill because we're building chairs, we're building furniture. I was getting paid 70 cents an hour because I was a SEAL and I was a lead and they needed my work. That's why they didn't fire me because I was a lead.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think.
I quit that job anyway, so I just laughed at them.
There you go.
And I think that's a good transition to Xavier. I know when Xavier was incarcerated, you were doing the most vital work for California, which is protecting all of us from fires. And you know, I think we know firefighters get paid upwards of $100K. Xavier, do you want to talk a little bit about how much you were getting paid, the conditions, and how Prop 6 might change that?
Yeah, I mean, the work I was doing, I was working at the fire camp itself. So essentially, I was getting paid like, I think, $1 an hour. I think that's the highest it gets in there. And that's only during like fire season, when there's actually a fire within the region. So if your camp isn't within the region of a fire, you're getting paid back that regular rate, right?
What's the rate?
Honestly, I forgot. I just remember the highest was $1. You know what I'm saying? So like,
You was winning too.
yeah. I mean, compared to what it was before, $1 is winning.
Yeah, no, for sure.
It's like $1.45, $1.35 a day if you're not active as a fire season.
A day.
Yeah.
A day.
Yeah.
Divide that by 8, it's about what, 15 cents, 18 cents an hour.
Yeah,
Wow.
and the work that the firefighters are doing when it's not fire season, when they're not fighting fires, is they're going out to these national forests, cleaning up the trails, you know, cutting the vines. It's still a lot of work, like it's labor. They're digging the grounds. When it's raining, they're out there, chainsaws, and you know they're not getting paid that $1 because it's not a fire. So it's, I mean, it's pretty terrible of what's going on. I was only there for like maybe 2 years out of my 6 years of being in CDCR. Before that, before I went there, I was getting paid, I think, 8 cents an hour, doing various different jobs. And it's not like a job that you have out here where you get a lunch, you get a break, you know, you're working through that whole day. And yeah, I mean, like similar to what Jay said, like it is forced. You don't have a choice. And if you don't want to do it, you get a 115, which he didn't mention adds on top of the violation. And like if you're going to parole, it has an effect. It also takes away good time credit, which is earned. So you'll get an extra 30 days added to your term. So if I was supposed to be released April of 2030, now it's in May of 2030, just because I didn't want to work or do a job that is paying me 8 cents an hour. I mean, yeah, 8 cents an hour. And at the end of the month, they take away 50% for restitution because I owe restitution. So on top of a chump change that they're giving me, they're taking half of it at the end of the month. And that's the only money I was getting like when I was in there. So you know, I was only able to afford 1 box of soups, you know, ramen that I needed to buy because the food in there was not good. Like they cook it the night before, so when you show up that next morning, it's already cold. You know, it's soggy or it's hard. And lunch is like 2 thin pieces of bread. Like, you know, like it's not good at all. So, you know, buying that food is necessary for you to not feel like you're starving at the end of the day. So, yeah.
Thanks, Xavier.
I had a quick question, maybe for folks. Are those skills transferable? So say if you want to be a firefighter in the local fire department, are they transferable? Say if you get released and maybe want to actually work at the fire camp and get paid a decent wage, are those skills transferable?
I think for firefighters it is transferable, but you won't be working at like a prison fire camp. I've heard stories of people that had once released, they were able to find a job through CAL FIRE.
CAL FIRE, yeah.
Not
the city ones. But here's the thing, because the city ones are the ones that pay more, right, than CAL FIRE. The problem, though, is that the vast majority of city ones, you need an EMT license. And if you have a felony, you're banned from getting those EMT licenses, therefore you can't be a firefighter. So you could get CAL FIRE, right? Because I know people that are formerly incarcerated, they got CAL FIRE, but it's damn near impossible to get those better ones for like the city municipal fire departments, because you can't get your EMT license that's required to get that, because you got a felony conviction.
We were locked up with that. I thought it was kind of prophetic of what harm 36 might present.
Yeah. I mean, it was interesting because I caught my case in around the time where Prop 47 was gonna get passed. So I caught my case in 2012, and when I was in custody in Elmwood here in San Jose, well, in Milpitas, my cell, and so in Elmwood I was in M5, which is the max unit, like the strictest level of housing there for people in custody. And my cellie, pretty much my bunkie, whoever I'm sharing my cell with, he was there for stealing some bottles from the store, right? And this person was transient, struggling with housing, and it sucks because people like that, Prop 36 would like disable people again like that. And this is what he had to do in order to survive and provide for himself. And he was facing up to like 2 years, which he would have to go to prison for. I was there for a violent case, and this was my cellie. So what I seen was basically before Prop 47, they would have housed and sent people to prison that were nonviolent or a non-serious offense, which in essence, Prop 36 would bring back mass incarceration. The only reason why prison population is going down right now is because they're removing people that are nonviolent or non-serious. What Prop 36 will do is bring all that back, right? So essentially, to me, I think that's what California is trying to do. Like the prisons are closing down certain yards or whatnot, and their argument or their need for prisons is no longer there. So what they want to do is they want to fill these prisons back up to show that there's a need. Hey, we need more beds. We need more funding to arrest these people, house these people, and essentially that's what it will do. I mean, even in CDCR, I met somebody who was doing 20 years for a marijuana case, right? So that's exactly what Prop 36 will bring. Will bring back people that are there for nonviolent, non-serious, just filling up beds. So they could essentially bring back slavery, which kind of ties it into Prop 6 too. The more people that they lock up, the more people that they could force to do labor.
Thank you, Xavier. So, go ahead, Eladio.
I know Jake could attest to this. Just the prison culture during that time where all these propositions were changing, it changed the culture in prison. Like, you just started seeing people going to group. I started to change. I seen it in the whole place. Instead of me doing 22 years in prison, which I thought I was going to do, these propositions gave me hope of getting out sooner and of being able to qualify. Because before I didn't qualify. And then now, like, these things came through. I'm like, man, I want to go home sooner. I don't want to die in prison. I want to be with my family, and I got out in 17 years. So it did change it. It gave me hope.
All the reason why we need to win 6 and stop 36 even more so. Thank you all for the words. And also, I should say, Eladio is our honorary panel member.
You want to change seats?
We didn't want to. He didn't want to sit in the nice chair, but Eladio is an incredible community leader that has been supporting and fighting for families and communities, not just here, but all across the state, particularly families that are being threatened by deportation and the nexus of the criminal system and the immigration deportation system. He's been a really amazing voice to stop that. So value your experiences here in this conversation. We had a couple kind of just general questions, and then we would like to hear more from people here about ideas and thoughts. At the end, we are gonna, Lourdes is gonna bring up some particular ideas on ways to plug in, particularly in these, how many, 30 days left, 32 days? Okay, so it's like game time, like that we're at. So how we can finish strong. Well, that said, like, so it's, Sandy, you brought this up. It is remarkable that out of all the mayors in California, it's San Jose's mayor that has been the most vocal, rageful, foaming at the mouth proponent of Prop 36. And part of that is what you said is there's been such powerful lies and propaganda machines. What would you say, and this isn't just saying, this is to everyone, but what would you say to people in San Jose that are only looking on social media, they're seeing the smash and grabs and oh my gosh, and they're seeing, I don't know, empty Walgreen aisles, and they think, well, something's got to happen, and they see this, you know, mayor in San Jose saying it's happening here. How do we convince folks that may be leaning towards a yes on 36 into our camp? How do we break through the lies?
As I said before, we have to point out the lies that actually what you see on TV isn't a reality, because crime is actually going down in California. And in San Jose in particular, it's gone down. It's the lowest it's been since 2003. That was even printed up in the Mercury News. And second of all, that Prop 36 isn't even going to deal with the crimes that you see, these spectacular crimes where you have these smash and grabs. What Prop 36 does is it targets shoplifters, low-level, nonviolent shoplifters who steal less than $950 at a time. Those smash and grabs that are all over the Prop 36 lab, those are gangs that are stealing tens of thousands of dollars worth of merchandise. So Prop 36 is not even going to impact them, because they're already committing felonies under the existing law. So there's that law. And the other thing is, as I said before, this whole issue of homelessness, the solution to homelessness is housing. And I was going to give a plug for Prop 5 here. Well, while you're voting, be sure to vote for Prop 5, which is for housing. It's interesting that many of the same people who are promoting Prop 36, and that's the real estate lobby in particular, they're also opposed to Prop 5 because their idea of the solution to homelessness is imprisonment and deportation. Wow. Imprisonment and deportation, as I said, they think people are the problem, and the way to make society better is to get rid of a bunch of people. And it's just a totally, for people that are spiritual, this is a totally unspiritual approach to life and to what life is all about. Life is about... Prop 5 is, it makes it possible to pass affordable housing bonds. We were going to have an affordable housing bond that was on the ballot, but because Prop 5 wasn't implemented yet, they weren't sure they were going to be able to win it, so they pulled it off. It was going to create almost 100,000 affordable homes in the Bay Area. So how does Prop 5 change that? Prop 5 says instead of having to get a 2/3 vote, you only have to get a 55% vote to pass it. So it's an important measure. So you're telling people to vote yes? Yes on 5. Yes on 5, yes on 6, no on 36.
That was a chant. Yvonne, we've talked about what what 36 would do and how it's smoke and mirrors illusion of a solution to addiction and the fentanyl crisis. As a healer, as a practitioner, what solutions do we really need to deal with communities that are in the throes of addiction or substance use that are looking for ways out?
Oh, so many things. I mean, sometimes I think about the things that more affordable housing, right? When people are at home or with their family, not having carceral solutions to everything, right? Or once somebody is incarcerated, all the things that we do to block their access to resources once they get out. Jail is not treatment, whatever services they put in there. So definitely more services that are really flexible and available. Creating services that are tied to housing and support. I mean, it wasn't always like this, the number of people who are homeless. So it's definitely about the economy. It's definitely about capitalism. We need to abolish capitalism too, while we're abolishing the carceral system. So more services, easier access to services that aren't punitive. You know, you have to do this or this or this in order to be here. We need to stop doing that. The door should just be open when a person is ready. Create those things around services that give people what they need and invite them into care and support families more. But I think those financial benefits and assistance and supports are really important. We can sit and talk about treatment, but if you don't have any place to live, right, or you can't even afford, groceries, I would say stealing $950, it doesn't take much in San Jose. It could be hardly anything.
Inflation.
Yeah. So, I mean, to me, that's another indication of what a target this is, and not about care or support or help.
Can I add to that? Yeah, so when I started with Debug, I kind of was on a ride along with Alicia and Norelli, and we're supporting folks who their only requirement to be released on supervised, like OR 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 themselves, was to take them to reentry, where they provide services and whatnot. And we learned quickly that the services were not readily available. When we took them there, they would have to get into a wait list, which took up to at least few months. I remember taking somebody and they didn't have anything but I think like clean socks, but they say they offer clothing. If they say they offer ready meals, and they said, "Oh, there's no meals right now." So just want to bounce it back to what Sandy said. Prop 36 is going to take away funding from these kind of like treatments and stuff like that. And if it's already limited to a few people, if it's already hard to get, with Prop 36 taking away that funding, is going to be almost non-existent at all.
Last sort of bonus question, and we do want to just open it up even more so before Lourdes explains ways to plug in. We had coined this forum, Return to Sender. Might have been Andrew. Sharice? Okay. Saying that we're going to return slavery to the past. We're going to send the war on drugs to the past. To us, if it like in our bones, this felt like this struggle. Stopping 36 and winning on Prop 6 intuitively felt like the same walk. But I'm wondering if anyone from the panel had words to articulate how. How is this the same struggle? And why are they two sides of the same effort?
Yeah, I could chime in just a little bit. The way I see Prop 6 and Prop 36 and the connectedness between the two is that if Prop 6 fails, right? Because what the intent behind Prop 6 is to give people on the inside more autonomy, right? Not punish them for not working, not add months or sometimes years on their sentence for not working, right? Remember, it's more about even the choice, because if someone gets injured on the job, guess what? Like I was working on a prison yard where they had a furniture factory. They built furniture, desks, chairs. A lot of it went to the state and they sold them and all that, PIA, right? I seen people get their fingers cut off, literally. And guess what? You're going right back to work. If you don't go back to work, you're getting punished. I seen people be sick and not get there. You got to get like a medical lay-in and don't get those in time. Well, guess what? You better show up to work, because if not, getting punished, right? And I hate to admit this, but I used to go to work sick because I didn't want to get that write-up. And now I'm getting other people sick, right? And then not only that, the first time I seen a grown man cry when his mother passed away, and he knew he wasn't able to go to her funeral. But guess what? He was expected to go to work that same day or get punished. You don't get bereavement time. And so when you treat people like that, right, and then you undermine the access to rehabilitation, education, mental health, drug treatment on the inside, it's only going to increase the chances that person's likely to go back because they never got the help and healing they need on the inside. So that's going to increase mass incarceration, right, if we don't do away with the slavery issue. And then with the Prop 36, right, when you start criminalizing more people that were misdemeanors now are felonies, right? And we've saw this movie plenty of times. Whenever they put enhancements on things or change laws, the people that are targeted the most are young Black and brown people. Those are the facts. We saw this movie way too many times. And it's going to go back to that heyday of mass incarceration. I was there when it was like 175,000 people inside, the people on triple racks, T-racks, triple bunks in the gyms, right? And that's since decreased. We're at like 92,000 right now, right? So the interconnectedness is like Prop 6, if we don't pass that, that's going to increase the chance people are just cycling back inside, right? And then on the other side, Prop 36, again, is going to increase that. But you got to remember, there's stakeholders in this. There's stakeholders in mass incarceration. There's people that are putting their kids through college off brown and Black bodies being incarcerated. People buying houses, boats, jet skis, right? So they have a financial stake in mass incarceration, and guess what? It's our community, it's our family members, and poor whites too, right? And so there's a stake in that, and that's where we're fighting against this mass incarceration, and that's the connectedness that I see between Prop 36 and 6, is going back to the mass incarceration, which we already have that. But we're talking about doubling that potentially, going back to those days of 175,000 incarcerated people in California, right? So we can increase CDCR's budget, which is already at $15 billion a year. Billion. Think about that. And it costs $133,000 to incarcerate one person for 1 year. That's insane. My mother was a secretary for the state. She worked for like 38 years. She retired already. And in 38 years of working, she never even made half that. You know? So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about financial gain for certain people off of brown and Black bodies and poor whites being incarcerated. And that's the fear, and that's what would happen with 36 if that passes, and if 6 doesn't pass. We're going to go back to the mass incarceration.
Well, we wanted to open it up with questions, thoughts from other folks not sitting in the nice chairs. So raise your hands, and then Zach and I will try to keep a cue in our head. But go ahead.
I just want to know, to publicize who the stakeholders are that are making that. Any ideas?
The stakeholders behind 36 and trying to stop.
So, like, follow the money. So Walmart is one of them, Home Depot, like a lot these major corporations, Walgreens, Target. And when you look at cause I'll shop at Walmart, I'll keep it real, right? And I bought Walgreens, and I hate going there sometimes to buy a freaking deodorant because I hit the little button and wait like 15 minutes for the person to come. So when you look at the things that people are so-called stealing, right? And two of the biggest things that are being stolen, formula, baby formula, and diapers. So tell me, what are the real problems, right? Where do you need to invest in, right? People are not getting rich off of stealing baby formula and diapers and deodorant. Those are basic necessities, right? So the stakeholders really are these large corporations, right? And then everybody that's tied to the carceral system, because they're all getting salaries off of people getting locked up. And it really not even when I say carceral system, it's not just CDCR, but it's also police as well.
I also wanted to bring in what I mentioned earlier, which is the real estate industrial complex, is that there's this whole issue of homelessness. It's being caused by the fact that the housing system is completely broken. Because they always say, well, it's supply and demand. All we need to do is get more housing supply and everything will be fine. The rents will go down. No, because it's controlled by these property owners, realtors, developers, financiers, and they will not build housing unless the rents go up. So there's never any solution to the affordable housing crisis. There's never a solution if you leave it to this real estate industrial complex. Right. That's why you need public intervention like Prop 5 that I mentioned, public intervention, public spending, so what we call social housing which is built to meet people's needs, not as an investment for making money. And they are pushing hard on this Prop 36 because it diverts attention from the real problems that we have in society. And housing is one of our biggest problems in California. It diverts attention, and what it's saying is that the solution to homelessness, and our mayor, Matt Mahan, is probably the #1 purveyor of this idea. The solution to homelessness is punishment, because people are poor, they're black, they're brown, and so they're bad people, and so they won't do anything right. They're just trying to game the system. And the only way to, and they love being homeless, the only way to get them into housing is not to build housing so that it's available and they can afford it, but to force them into shelters, tiny homes, jails, whatever.
And then lastly, just to say, look, San Jose is known across the state now because we have a mayor that is trying to pass Prop 36. We have the paper of record in this area, the Mercury News, has an editorial saying that we needed to stop Prop 6. So what you have is the powers that be in San Jose, the political class of San Jose thinks that they could subjugate our communities and that we won't fight back. What an amazing flex it would be if San Jose stopped Prop 36 and passed Prop 6.